Let's go. A beautiful Thursday morning. It is on the Bumper Breakfast. We're so glad to be here with you this morning. Hope you enjoy the music that we've served you this great morning. It's a horror out there, I tell you, with the traffic situation. You can spend 1 hour on the road for a distance of 15 minutes and she's still stuck. I did about 45 minutes for a distance of just about 25 minutes, and it took grace, to get here. So I totally understand why someone like Tom would, relocate to Lagos outrightly and just say, for the day that I'm coming, let me just come stay close by so I can just make my way to the show. My name is Oluwatobisi, and joining me this morning on the show.
It's Tom Adirele. It's a beautiful Thursday morning on the Bumper Breakfast Show. I am delighted to be here.
And I'm so delighted to be here as well. And we have a guest joining us this morning because we'll be talking with him as we look at the newspaper headlines and the news pari pursue. We have Mr. Akin Fatunke right here this morning with us on the show. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He is, a business coach because I know he's one of the voices, the lender voices and expertise teaching people at the Lagos Business School. He's also a communication specialist with vast experience in the oil and gas downstream and upstream sector. Good morning, and good to have you on the show.
Good morning, Tomi. Thank you very much. Tosin, nice to be here. Good morning, Tomi, and good morning, Nigerians. Thanks for having me here.
Yes, it's a pleasure having you. I want to begin with the Guardian newspaper this morning and the stories, on the front page. CSO seeks sanction against underage voting, duplication in INEC register. Development not surprising, erring staff will be sanctioned. INEC vows don't make Nigeria a problem for West Africa. Electoral Forum chair warns politicians. Waxy, you have 2023 poll test of Nigeria's democratic strength. Let's quickly take a look at this story because Festus Okoye, the man in charge of the voter education, released a statement saying that Nigerians should be part of the watchdog to help, sieve the so-called list that was put out. And I'm wondering, how did that become part of our assignment?
It's part of our assignment to listen. Just like security is everybody's business, just like education, I must say it's like everybody's business, even though agencies of states created should do what they need to do. It's in the enabling law. ICANN is in the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, that claims and objections should form part of the partnership between all citizens, the INEC itself, and then the destination we are all going to be looking out for. I already started hearing murmurs that there are dead people on the register. I also started hearing
multiples. Some people said some people are underage
and stuff like that. I will only be fair to say that as a parent, that I have my children, I will do my best to try and teach them on the narrow path. Please make sure you do this, you do that. Close your eyes to the broad path to drugs here and there, but I don't follow them to the marketplace. And they can get to the marketplace and they can
choose to go the other way, to err.
Be exposed, be exposed to things that I never thought or I never imagined would happen. So what do they do in there? They either come back and ask, they either use their emotional intelligence to get by, or they plunge. And if they plunge, what now happens? There has to be a way of correction. And I think that is exactly what the INEC is doing. In the next few days, they are enjoining you and I, please go verify, go check. We are not saints, and we are not necessarily sinners, because some people connived and did what they did. Technology did not catch it at first go. So if you do the grandfather, father, son in technology, okay, so at the gate, we are now at the gate. The claims and objections therefore ensures that Tone, who is here in my constituency, I see her there, I smile. And Tommy Singh, who is also here in my constituency, I don't see her. Okay, I quickly look through, and Tommy Singh is either not in Lagos or she's traveled and stuff like that. I am concerned. Tommy Singh, I did not see your name or whatever it is. Please go check. So by such citizen participation, we help one another to make sure we get there. And if Toe is not supposed to be in my constituency, and I know
maybe she's coming to vote in your constituency.
and she's coming in here, then I'm put on inquiry. Tone, why should you be here? I have a problem with your name.
Here.
It is either Tone, it's another Tone. Okay. So is that, my point is that we must go beyond the handshake to ensuring that even if INEC eventually gets it wrong, it is not only INEC that is going to suffer the consequence. It's
We
going to
will
be
as
the
well.
rest of us. Yeah.
All right, Tone, your headline story.
Okay, Muslim ticket. The friends criticizing me lobbied for vice president slots, and that's coming from Tinubu. Tinubu meets Khan, says he didn't Islamize his family, can't do such to Nigeria. Nigeria needs religious neutral state, not a religious state. Association advises federal government. Next president must ensure a good balance between Muslims and Christians. Association. Well, I just take the news recap.
Okay, on that
and
particular story.
That's related to that particular story. The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Party, All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, met with the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, in Abuja on Wednesday. The meeting is the second leg of the CAN presidential interaction session. The APC candidate was accompanied by his wife, Oluremi, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, governors, federal lawmakers, and some chieftains of the party. At the meeting, Tinubu told the CAN leadership that his decision to vie for the nation's top job is in line with the country's constitution, as he allayed fears over the same faith ticket. So,
I think for those who had a problem with that, maybe that has resolved and maybe it hasn't, but
make something out of it anyway.
Of course, he's at that meeting with them, and but if there's a track of them, my director can take it. But in the absence of that, I think we should look at this one. The federal government has to face off. Government won't pay for service not rendered. Minister insists, and that's on page 3. Pardon me, please, of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And I remember there yesterday, students of Unilag and lecturers took placards to the streets and, protested the fact that the lecturers got half salaries.
Are we back to square one?
No, they just protested. There's no strike. And that was just Unilag anyway. So, most of us okay. This no work, no pay thing is also on the front page of the nation. The federal government yesterday insisted on no work, no pay for members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Also, Minister of Education Malam Adamu, who spoke after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, said the government has paid the teachers what was due. I think the position of the government that is not going to pay anyone for work not done, and they only did, I think, the number of days that they were paid for.
They were paid for. Do you think we're going back to square one?
I know we are going to go back to square one.
Not nice.
And I also know for a fact, even though you may call stones at me, even if they paid the lecturers full salary, okay, now let's shift the paradigm and let's think beyond the box. Let's even say for whatever reason they paid the lecturers 2 times for 1 month. We're still going to come back
to the same spot.
to that vomit. Why? We are going to come back to that vomit because what we are operating, it is not sustainable. Public institutions of universities cannot continue to be cap in hand, going to the center, We should look beyond our shoulders and at our borders. What do other people do? What do they do? Okay, and if you choose you don't want to look at that, how comes it? I know there's a bit of a politics in there, that the private universities are not made to charge fixed sums. You are free and given a leeway, and yet Nigerians are going there. Yes, and the other argument that people went to public universities. I went to a public university, and I know I benefited from it. And I hope my over 90-year-old dad is not watching me say this. In retrospect and in all fairness, I believe my dad, as a civil servant, could have paid much more for my tuition. And I also know that at that point in time, when we had brilliant girls and boys who could not
Go to school.
who could not go to school. There should be a way.
Even in the days of free education, you're saying.
I'm telling you that. We should be able to balance. Universities should be centers of research and knowledge. They should be made autonomous. They have the capacity and capability to research and bring in a lot of
Fun, yeah.
monies into their system. Go ask Professor Jelil Omotola when he came out with that mantra, the University of Lagos, a citadel of learning, governance, people, projects, a lot of the things that we are taught in management school. My point is simple. We are underutilizing our capacity and our brain. We are underutilizing the capacity and the brain of the average Nigerians. Nollywood used to be float Psalms and jet Psalms. Nollywood today is what is bringing a lot of fun to our GDP.
That must be
Music,
Yes.
music is the Alagbes and the Ajegbes of this world. Now we have the Wizkids of this world. They are doing great things. You know why? Because they were tasked beyond,
Yes.
and the developed countries are now looking at Nigeria.
Oh yes, they want
I
to
can
collaborate.
tell you for free that university lecturers in Nigeria can do a lot much more. Albeit, the university lecturers themselves, they too have their Achilles heel. They have their own little here, and ASU is still insisting that it has to be fee paying. We are deceiving ourselves.
It's a system that cannot be sustained. That's what you're saying?
So it's time,
It's not going to be-
it's time for the universities to start to generate their own revenue.
And the federal government to hands off.
Just like the regulation, just like security. Let's continue.
Otherwise, we'll
to
always
deceive ourselves.
come back to
Let's face it square on, and if we face it square on, we take the pain of making sure we do what we need to do with capacity, character, and of course compassion. Compassion will not then be, we see the weakest of the weak in society. What has been put out there for everybody, those who are not weak are taking advantage.
But then, shouldn't it even be easier for the government to dedicate this amount of money if, for example, universities are made autonomous? The money that is being spent on these universities currently, the federal government can actually set it up as a student loan for students, from the Oipoloi who want to go to school, but their parents obviously cannot afford it. But they have the zeal, the desire. And then the
manage
federal
it.
government will manage the money properly through a TED fund or something. They have the TED funds, they have all of that.
Appropriate governance.
True.
Attempts have been made to do this. What
And
scuttled
they
it
have failed.
is the corruption that we
Yeah.
talk about.
The corruption.
I mean, that will always set in, no
Yeah,
doubt.
No doubt.
Okay, let's go back to the newspaper headlines. Rowdy session, this is from the Tribune. Rowdy session as Senate gives CBN nod to redesign Naira. And we have something on that, the news recap. The Senate has resolved to provide legislative support to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, for the redesign of the 1,000, 500 and 200 Naira notes. The upper chamber came to this resolution after a heated debate on the motion moved by Senator Uba Sani on CBN's policy to redesign the 3 naira notes. Majority of senators across party lines support the redesign of the naira, but some of them are concerned about the deadline set by the Apex Bank for the old naira notes to be deposited in commercial banks.
I think that also brings to fore the question, is that notice, Mr. Fatuka, you play in that industry on the side, is that notice a bit too small? Do you think?
Is it too short?
Is it short? The number of months, given by the CBN for, I think it's January, by January.
Yes.
That'll be the end of it.
Considering the aim, do you think that time is too short?
With due respect, and I think I respect the voice of Mr. President, he was clear to say to us that one of the key reasons why he's doing that is to rein in the monetary supply, money in circulation, which in accordance to the law set up by the CBN Act of 2007, Section 9 A and B, to regulate. So much money is outside the system. It's not just in Nigeria. Most of sub-Saharan Africa also
have that issue.
Quite a number of people still put money under their pillows. But the concern is not the legality. It's not even the fact that it was not made open to a coterie of people who are supposed to be in the finance management thing. It's supposed to be a spring surprise factor to catch certain set of
elements.
I know for sure, right, that you told me sing. And my dear sister Trudy and myself, we are not. A very few set of people that have stacked money, they decide that they're going to use it for
cash every time.
untoward things are going to be affected.
Yes.
However, it is the law of morality and common sense that you have to look at things in the wider dimension. So, if you must catch a thief, if you want to kill a thief, and in the process, 4, 5, 7 innocent people go down dying, you want to think again. Should we not just leave this thief and leave our people that will be some other day? The real challenge, and talking about the dates that you mentioned, is that there's going to be a lot of rush. In fact, I read that the EFCC went after the video. I disagree with that, technically speaking, and they've raked in so much money.
Cash, yes.
Maybe.
As a matter of fact, they even waive, there's a waiver now on deposits. Normally when you do a deposit above 500,000, they usually
If my experience is anything to go by, perhaps that's the end that we are going to hear about that. Now, the banking people are going to be faced with a lot of operational issues. Let me explain that in a nutshell. Now, by December 15 is a particular deadline.
Yes.
And it becomes operational from January.
I think
31st or
I think between 26 and 31st or something.
I can tell you for free that between December 15 and that January, people will stop transacting and transaction. What economists call Purchasing Managers Index, which is a measure of the index of logistics, how you buy and sell and all, will dip. Why? Because I want to sell something to you, Tomisi, and you're not going to accept it. Please, you say, well, I rather want to wait until
the new.
What does that do to the economy? It shrinks the economy. It gets a bit of a nosedive. In 1984, when a similar thing was done by this same, the window was a bit short. If you wanted to catch them, cram, bang, bang, we will have done that perhaps very close to the election when what you call bullion vans or vans that are not bullion or whatever it is.
We'll be flying around.
And then you can always catch them. I also understand that if it was made very open, it will leak. Tells you one or two things about us. It's like you want to do a drill. You know, you do a drill whereby you just simulate that maybe this whole place is going to go on fire. All right? I mean, there are protocols, there are certain things. The guard there must be an incident person. You must be an incident person. Why? Because if we don't carry you along and you start mentioning this, and then you hear, whatever it is, what is likely to be what you are going to say? Oh, there's a bomb. Oh, there's fire. And people listening to you will carry that and just believe that something else, or maybe there's a coup. We must have a situation where we do protocols and processes, and if people that we find that are not going to be fit for purpose are in the team, that is the work of the chief executive. He chases them out. I had thought, and Senator Olujimi made that clear, that time is short. Let these people bring in all the things they need to bring. It becomes neither here or there. I also believe that as we speak, inflation suddenly jumped to what, 12 points? Sorry, 20.09%.
It actually leaped.
Between September and this October we are talking about, food inflation has gone the other way around. We're talking about, well, we are not sure what is happening in there. The revenue is dwindling, the oil theft is going on. If that now becomes the time that just because we want to catch a few people, we now then make the whole place to suffer in this way, needs a bit of a rethink. The CBN has done what it needs to do. The president said he gave the nod. The National Assembly are asking that they are going to give the legislative backing.
Okay.
My hope is that the pains that are going to be attendant, they are not saying they don't know about the pains, will be such that we'll be able to claw back and recover as fast as possible. Unfortunately, when I looked out of the window, in terms of recovery, I am not seeing.
I was waiting for that.
I'm not seeing anything. Is it the insecurity? Is it the education? Is it the ASU that is going on strike? Is it the medical doctors?
I was waiting for.
Is it the floods that is ravaging the countryside? The way I see it is that we all work in silos. So Mr. President is working in silo and he believes he has all the powers. Some other people, the woman down there in the village who cannot even access.
As a matter of fact, a lot of villages are still going to be trading with this money for us.
So
are we listening to her? Are we caring for her? Or are we saying that
what effect it has on her?
Yes.
Well, so what do you envisage, this deadline being shifted?
When I talked about this initially, I was very strong to say that it's most likely
going to be shifted.
It's going to be shifted. I don't feel so
any longer.
Why? Because Mr. President is set.
It takes a hard line on certain things, especially when it has to do with convictions.
In his ways,
like
I know, and I have friends, and I can tell you for free that are economic advisors. Some of them are my lecturers back in school at ABU and what have you. The Nigerian president that I see today is perhaps the most influential, and by so saying, most powerful. Can coerce this, he can coerce that, and then, well, I had to do it for one reason or the other. I think he's set in his ways. He is the pilot. I know perhaps there are certain things he's saying that a lot of us are not saying, but we that are in the plane I hope he will listen. But you know where the pilot is, you shut the...
Yeah, you shut the door.
And you say, fasten your seatbelt and all that.
And let's go on this ride. As we round off this segment, I'll take one more story. This time around, it's going to be on the front page of The Nation. Buhari approves 134.7 billion naira for military veterans. And this is the first story on our news recap this morning. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved 134.7 billion naira for the payment of security debarment allowance, SDA, to all veterans from 2017 to date. The president also announced the donation of 10 million naira to the Nigerian Legion on behalf of the federal government at the launch of the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day Emblem and Appeal Fund. Speaking at the occasion, which preceded the meeting of the FEC yesterday, the president pledged the federal government's commitment to the welfare of veterans by ensuring prompt payment of their pension and other entitlements, which had been demonstrated by his approval of the payment of SDA to veterans with effect from 2017.
Members of the armed forces and assist in supporting the military in carrying out its statutory responsibilities. The federal government is committed to the welfare of our veterans by ensuring prompt payment of their pensions and other entitlements. To this end, I approve the payment of security debarment allowance to veterans with effect from 2017. However, in order to capture all veterans hitherto excluded from the payment of the security debarment allowance, I have approved a review of the effective date of the MAFA 2017 accordingly. I have also approved the sum of 134,749,953,243 naira 69 kobo only for that purpose. I am pleased to note that the Defense Health Maintenance Limited is living up to expectation in providing healthcare services to our veterans.
Thus, the emblem being launched today symbolizes the sacrifices of these gallant men and women of our armed forces. Faced with myriads of security challenges in our motherland, our armed forces is working assiduously in concert with other security agencies to restore normalcy to Nigeria's multifaceted security challenges. Regrettably, some of our gallant officers and men have paid the supreme sacrifices in the line of duty.
2 years, we could say that Boko Haram was technically defeated, and today it's not technically defeated, but practically defeated. The President promised several times that before he leaves in May 2023, he would ensure that he leaves behind a more and better secured Nigeria. And the best and only and most logical thing to do for us in the National Assembly is to also participate in that enterprise of ensuring that we provide resources for the armed forces and other security agencies to continue to fight the insecurity that we face. And
all right, welcome back, and we have to let Mr. Fatuke go this morning. Mr. Fatuke, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Let's take a commercial break. When we return, we're talking about the security apparatus in Lagos. They seem to have been doing something for a couple of years. Has it really been effective?